All right, looks like we're ready to go. This time we're moving on. We're done with the law of success is 16 lessons. This is a much shorter, though probably more dense and condensed reading. And I don't want to call it motivational material. It's probably inspirational material, instructive material, and gaining what you attempt or desire to gain in life. Just to clarify oneself, to clarify one's understanding of the self and one's understanding of what it is that the person, he or she, does or doesn't want. And there's kind of a commonality. If you look at what most people want, just think about it, right? It's kind of like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. At the bottom, you have the basic needs, right? You need food, clothes, shelter, things like that. And then moving up, you probably need, something a little more not so essential, right? You probably need a purpose or reason for being. You want to do something, certainly have a job or a career, make some money. And usually when you're doing that, you want to do something that is satisfying, fulfilling, right? And then that starts with the fulfilling stuff. Satisfying, fulfilling, starts to move towards the top of the pyramid. So this is really, I think, top of the pyramid stuff. You have a hierarchy of needs. Most of the rest of the lower needs are taken care of. I mean, if you're struggling mightily emotionally, then this is probably not going to help you until you take care of that. You suffer a lot of depression, anxiety, whatever. This is not going to help you till you take care of that. And I've been there, so I know that that's true, at least from one person's perspective, but common sense says that's true for almost anybody. And then, moving up the hierarchy of needs, once you get to the very top, I mean, even making money. I mean, I've had jobs where you're just making money. You're bringing in money. It's temporary work. It's not very fulfilling, not very satisfying. And that only lasts so long. Even if you're doing something that you enjoy, sometimes you need to switch. You hear about this all the time in people who have been working for some time. If they've been working for 10 years or more, there's almost always a desire, as one is growing, right? When you're 20, it's different. 30 is different for 40, it's different from 30, 50 different from 40, and so on, right? Because your perspective changes, your needs change, and so forth, right? So anyways, let's take a look at this. As a Man Thinketh, and as you can see, here's the foreword by James Allen. As you can see, it's thought, the effect of thought on fill in the blank. And I'm just it's only 20 pages. So we could just take a quick run through. Do I need a little more? Let me see, hold on a second. Probably need to bring it up a little bit. Oh, that didn't help. Well, there it is. I guess on this copy, you can't do much. But anyways, so this thought and character, boom. I mean, it's just a little over a page long, right? Like thought on circumstance, thought on health and body. And some of these concepts have been around for a while. This is a relatively popular one. The effect of thought on health and body, right? Thought on purpose, achievements, right? Thought on visions and ideals, the effect of thought on serenity. And that's it. So it's a very short, terse, brief, nothing like the law of success. Okay, so this is not going to take too long. I'll probably do it in just a couple of go-throughs, but nevertheless, there's quite a bit here. Even in these few short paragraphs, there's a lot it's condensed. It's very dense and condensed, the information, the philosophy, the insight, right? So let's just read a little bit and stop where we have to. The aphorism, as a man thinketh in his heart, so he is. Again, this was written some time ago, close to 100 years or so ago. When is the actual publishing? Do we have a publishing date? No, it's not December. As you can see, I mean, it talks about, the pronoun used predominantly. I mean, it's right in the title, right? But as a man thinketh, right? So it's got that particular bias. Nevertheless, don't worry about that. It applies to all people. It did then and it does now. So don't worry about the terminology or the labeling. Anyways, the aphorism, as a man thinketh in his heart, is so as he not only embraces the whole of man's being, but so comprehensive as to reach out to every condition and circumstance of life. A man is literally what he thinks, his character being the complete sum of all things, his all thoughts, right? So this philosophy, ideology has been around for some time. It had been around before Allen was around, right? James Allen. So nothing really is new under the sun. It's just repurposed, I guess we could say, right? I mean, what I'm presenting to you is really, relatively speaking, maybe I come up with an occasional unique insight, but most of what I'm doing is just regurgitating what other great minds have said, right? I'm not saying I'm including myself, but those others who are great minds, what they've said, right? So yeah, the whole embraces the whole of his being, right? Comprehensive. When you're talking about comprehensive, it's like a comprehensive routine in the gymnasium, right? And it's a gymnast that covers all their moves, all their material, right? Reach out to every condition and circumstance of his life. So this is what I was looking for. This is kind of, maybe I got it a little bit from Allen, maybe a little bit from Jingning Chu. Maybe I think I also got some of that idea, if this is so valuable, what I'm trying to give people, then it's going to be valuable to many, if not all. I don't know. Yeah, that's kind of pushing it, because there's almost always exceptions with any philosophy, within any system or population, right? So that's true. Richard Feynman, who was a physicist, between Hawking and Einstein. It was Einstein, Feynman, Richard Feynman, and then Stephen Hawking. So, and he kind of thought about that and said, if physics is so great, then incoming freshmen should be able to learn it, the basic concepts. And thus he came up with 6 easy pieces, which was a look at physics without all the math, right? Just trying to use models, visual models, to present physics. I guess it really didn't work out the way he wanted it to, or as well as he wanted it to. And I can understand that, because physics, it may be pervasive and pretty important to most people. That's why I think I found it interesting, because it's pretty applicable across the board. What matter? It's kind of like sectarian religion, right? Science is kind of and even Stephen Hawking said, if we can tie quantum theory to the theory of relativity through string theory, then we will know the mind of God, right? Where we came from, why we're here, where we're going, right? So through the observation of matter and the interaction of matter and the principles and laws that control and influence matter, right? Stephen Hawking was thinking, I'll know God. But then again, he said he's known, or he was known for saying that he didn't believe in God, or a God, or a God according to how humans have defined God through religion and so forth, right? But anyways, that's another story. Maybe I'll do something on him someday. And That'd be a great little presentation. So as the plant springs, did I miss anything? No, we'll just continue on. Okay. As the plant springs from and could not be without the seed. So every act of a man, woman, people springs from the hidden seeds of thought. And this is, and I don't know which came first, the chicken or the egg. I don't know if this came first. I read this and then came up with my idea about my coaching, inner projection, where in order to really be effective, to affect the world, or to be effective on the world, to affect the world, right? It all generates from here, right? You're not going to be amazing without having something. So, it's like having an empty tank. You've got no fuel. So how are you going to really get out there and run around and be energized and have energy and be of merit and have it be dynamic and useful, productive, effective, right? Without having some fuel in you. So I think that's one of the reasons why I've read so much, is that fuel has really lifted and sustained and enlightened me to an amazing degree. Don't do drugs, do knowledge. Knowledge can be a drug. I got addicted to it. Seriously. I've read hundreds, I don't know, thousands of books. I probably lost track. In a dozen, 10, 12, 15 different fields, I was just absorbing knowledge like a sponge, absorbing water. So as the plant springs from and could not be without the seed, so every act of a human springs from the hidden seeds of thought and could not have appeared without them. This applies equally to those acts called spontaneous and unpremeditated as to those which are deliberately executed. Right? So, a wonderfully giving, kind person, generally speaking, is not just born, right? It takes some effort to put oneself mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally in the proper places, alignment, to align all that in you, right, with something that would be productive to that end, which is to be nice and kind and blah, 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 right? That doesn't just happen, generally speaking, because look at most kids. What are most kids, right? Most kids are pretty selfish, right? Everything is me, 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 they cry for the slightest thing. I'm tired, I'm hungry. My brother, my sister took this from me. I don't have that. I don't want to do that. I just want to watch this show, not what they're watching, what you tell me to watch. I want, right? So that's the ego, that's the self, which you have to overcome in order to expand beyond that to become something of worth, relatively speaking, maturity, right? Someone who is matured and disciplined and patient and experienced and knowledgeable and kind, generally speaking, right? Act is the blossom of thought. There it is, right? And joy and suffering are its fruits. Thus does a person, I can't say it every time because I'm not going to resubstitute pronouns, but you know what I'm saying, garner the sweet and bitter fruitage of his own husbandry. Now, fruitage of his own husbandry, those are terms that are used in, I guess, the Old Testament, but in the Bible, New Testament, probably used in other religions as well, right? Because the Christ is the husband, his disciples are the bride. There's all these tons of metaphors in many of the sacred texts, right? Like the Hindus, right? They talk about selfishness. Selfishness is like toys along the path of life, right? There's another metaphor, right? A child without toys, sadder still as an adult, fixated at the same level, meaning that you're an adult, you're at least 20 something, heaven forbid if you're in your 30s and 40s, and you're whining for those things that are just about you, right? And doing everything and anything just for you. And a lot of movie stars, a lot of really wealthy and famous people get stuck in that because they have all the money and all that they have around them are yes people. Yes, Mr. and Mrs. So-and-so, right? And sometimes, people will break through maybe family, friends, or whomever, or maybe the individual themselves, and break from that selfish perspective. But there's been a lot of very, very well-known people in the arts, in business and elsewhere, who have kind of gotten caught up by their own press. Something to avoid, right? Thought in the mind hath made us. What we are by thought we wrought. Wrought is to make, right? And build. If a man's mind hath evil thoughts, pain comes on him as comes the wheel the ox behind. If one endure in pity of thought, joy follows him as his shadow sure, right? Pity of thought. I'm sorry, purity. I gotta make those letters larger. Purity of thought, right? And here, purity of thought doesn't mean you're just sitting around thinking virtuous thoughts all day. But relatively speaking, you're controlling your thoughts. This is something that I do, and many people talk about doing, and you probably should do, right? I don't listen to the radio. I have pre-recorded materials, or I have particular things. They may be live, maybe podcasts or something on YouTube or videos that's informative, uplifting, inspiring, knowledge generating for some reason, right? Got all that. And then, I'm not sitting around. I don't have cable or satellite. I don't watch any series on television. I really don't watch television, any regular series, because I don't want that to consume me, or, you get into a binge frame of mind, and that's kind of too self-indulgent for my purposes. Right? I don't mind entertainment, but I only want to watch movies. 2 hours, I'm done. I can move on. And I'm more in control of my time. I don't need to be binge watching something, 9 seasons and sitting there every day for hours and hours when I got things, many, many things. It's great to have distraction, divergence, to diverge from what you're doing all day. I've been working all day since I get up, and I don't know what time it is now, 8 o'clock at night or something. And I'm going to finish this and then I'm done. So I'm going to lay down on the bed with my huge 70-inch screen and just watch something. Might go on and watch some political, social commentary on the stuff of the day that's going on, events of the day. Sometimes I watch a movie, something on Netflix. But there you go. So control your thoughts. Controlling your thoughts entails not letting, it's just like, people control their body. They're really into their body. Make sure they go into the gym and they don't eat anything sweet or fattening, no carbs, no fat. Got to have the perfect body. Meanwhile, they let their brain rot to hell, or their spirit, or their moral, ethical nature. They just let that rot to hell. They don't control it. They don't care about it. They don't focus on it. Right. I find those, the body is the vehicle, so that certainly needs to be kept healthy. And I've had some health issues lately. So going to the doctors again tomorrow. I was at getting some scans and stuff last week. So I'm okay as far as everything's coming up positive pretty much. But health, physical health, this is the vehicle. This is the physical, tangible vehicle that interacts with the world, right? But what really drives it is our thoughts, the intellect, the spirit, the emotions, right? That is what we are made of. That's the personality. That's the spirit, whatever you want to call it. The soul. If you're not religious, then it's the personality, right? Man is a growth by law and not a creature by artifice. And cause and effect is as absolute and undeviating in the hidden realm of thought as in the world of visible and material things. It reminds me of the Matrix and the Marvigian, the French program. He's a French guy, and he's got the beautiful wife there. And I remember Neo, Trinity, and Morpheus come in to talk to him, right? They want something. And he begins to philosophize, right? And he talks about cause. It is cause and effect. The reason why you came in here is because you wanted something. That's the cause. And the effect is you asking me to give you something, to do something for you, but you really don't understand the cause. The reason why you want something is unknown to you. You really do not know. You do not think of it. You are living on too much of a surface cause and effect. Health, path, kind of interesting stuff. Matrix, mind-blowing stuff. Anyways, but the brothers that wrote that, interestingly enough, really into the philosophy of theology, into Eastern and Western philosophy and theology, Christianity, Hinduism, Buddhism, Taoism, right? Great stuff in there. The visuals are great. The action's great. It's really cool. Cool idea, even. Really intricately written idea. That's intense as well. But the philosophy of what is being stated, brilliant. Probably the best movie or series of movies I've ever seen, next to maybe Lord of the Rings. Anyways, a noble and godlike character is not a thing of favor or chance. That's what I was saying. Not godlike, but I just said be nice. But it is the natural result of continued effort in right thinking, the effect of long cherished association with godlike thoughts. An ignoble and bestial character, by the same process, is the result of the continued harboring of graveling of thoughts. That's why I try not to get into the gratuitous sex and violence and swearing and viewing and hanging out and listening to and existing with the violence or the negative or the anything that will dull one's light, right? Anything that will dull one's light, right? And you can feel it, right? I'm sure you can feel it, right? And the more you take the dark, and I've been in the dark, I've been crazy mad, suicidal. I've had many a day in which I wanted to, and actually had written some notes about ending my life. I lived in deep, dark despair for weeks, months, maybe years on end. I was very silent and sullen, and it was just a terrible, miserable, crappy, nasty, counterproductive, useless way to live. So I did a flip. I did a 180. And all this stuff here has helped me for the better. And I really didn't even know I was doing this until I read it. How about that? So there's, as Ching Chu says, and we'll get to that next, in Thick Face Blackheart, there's a light in you, right? There's a guiding light. There's a plan. There's a source of knowledge and understanding in you. And some can go the religious route. You don't have to. Whatever you want to label it, the universe. There's a book called The Universe, and the Universe is a Green Dragon, written by a physicist, last name of Swimme, S-W-I, I think it's 2 M, S-W-I-M-M-E, Swimme. And he talks about how there's an attraction, an allurement between the universe and the individual. And he says that the universe doesn't need us, but we need the universe. Maybe I'll go over that book as well someday. Tons of great sources out there. Anyway, so man is made of or unmade by himself, people, good women as well. In the armory of thought, he forges the weapons by which he destroys himself. He also fashions the tools with which he builds for himself heavenly mansions of joy and strength and peace. By the right choice and the true application of thought, man ascends to the divine perfection. By the abuse and wrong application of thought, he descends below the level of the beast, in that case, Satan. And again, there are some religious references in here. So there you have it. Don't worry about that. If you're atheist and you're a total opponent to believing that anyone who believes that imaginary people sitting on clouds have any reason that they should live whatsoever, or any value or any worth or merit whatsoever, don't worry about that. You can still use this, right? If you're abusive in that way, you might want to think about being unabusive, right? Because everybody's got their own opinion, right? There are people who are very religious, some mildly religious, and not religious at all. I've met them all. And there's good and bad in all groups. So that doesn't define who you are, right? That's a closed mind. That's ignorant. That's small-minded. That's selfish. That's counterproductive. That's not going to the light. That's not energizing. That's not empowering. It's ignorance. It's bias. It's prejudice. It's a closed mind. Don't do it. It's bad for you. Where we go? Unmade by himself in the army of thought, he forges the weapons by which he destroys himself, also fashions the tools with which he builds for himself heavenly mansions of joy and strength, right? Or descends below the level of beast. Between these two extremes are all the grades of character, and man is their maker and master. Of all the beautiful truths pertaining to the soul, which have been restored and brought to light in this age, none is more gladdening or fruitful of divine promise and confidence than this, that man is the master of thought. There it is, right? The molder of character, the maker and shaper of condition, environment, destiny, right? And this is what I found, because I was down here. I was down in the deep, in the muck, and the mire. I didn't talk to anybody. I was totally introverted, very depressed, very withdrawn, very sullen, very confused, in a very dark space for many, many, many years. And probably really didn't start to pull out of it until I was probably in my mid-20s, right? And that's then things started to take off like a juggernaut. Beginning in my late 20s, right? Mid-20s, I started to kind of get a rumble of something else going on in the universe that I needed to tap into, right? And ever since then, man, I don't know who that person was. So long ago, you know, from 20 to now, it's just light years away. But I made that transition, probably not fully, but to the greatest degree. I probably made that transition by the time, to the greatest degree, almost fully, I'd say, near fullness of understanding of really what's going on and being empowered. Probably happened in my early to mid 30s, right? And as they say, it's better late than never. Never. A lot of people never acquire that spark, that understanding, that light, right? As a being of power, intelligence, and love, and the Lord of his own thoughts, man holds the key to every situation contained within himself that's transforming and regenerative agency by which he may make himself what he wills. Man is always the master, even in the weakest, most abandoned state. This is true. And a lot of philosophers and a lot of philosophy and theology, if you read the Dhammapada, the Rig Veda, the Analects of Confucius, the Analects of Confucius, and most of the major sacred texts, that is spoken to time and again, right? We are our master, our own maker of our own destiny, right? But in his weakness and degradation, he is the foolish master who misgoverns his household. When he begins to reflect upon his condition and to search diligently for the law upon which his being is established, he then becomes, there you go, right? Start searching for it, reflect and search, right? He then becomes the wise master, directing his energies with intelligence and intent, right? Fashioning his thoughts to fruitful issues. That's what I was talking about. I'm not going to let the radio or some television series or some Netflix series or some reading material or some whatever, internet, whatever shows on television, movies, whatever, control me. I'm going to control them. I don't really flit around much on social media. Sometimes I do. I might, waste some time that way. But generally speaking, I'm probably on social media just a few minutes every day, not much. Such is the conscious master, and man can only thus become by discovering within himself the laws of thought, which discovery is totally a matter of application, self-analysis, experience, right? So, well, first you want to self-analyze. Who am I? What's my character? Briggs-Myers typology test, the Jung typology test. What is my basic character type of the 16 character types? What am I? Generally speaking, ballpark that you can't get 100% accurate, but maybe 80, 90%. And there's always wiggle room and sliding back and forth between a couple other of the character types, right? What is your learning style? What is your How do you interact with people? Are you a person who likes to reflect, think on one's own, or to think through people, conversation? Or maybe you like to do it through books, or maybe you like to do it through the physical, right? Manifest understanding through the physical, right? That way, or go out into the physical, right? Observe shape and shadow and form, right? Leonardo da Vinci did that. Yeah. Such is the conscious master. And there's another point here. A man can only thus become by discovering within himself the laws of thought. That's what I've talked about. Ching Chu talks about that. Alan here talks about that. It's very common, right? So good ideas are usually seen if you look enough, right? If you do enough searching and researching, it's there. It's just like attempting to discover scientific discoveries, right? Understanding how nature works at the biological level, or maybe at the chemical level, right? And you really get in there, or at the atomic level, you really get in there and you start to look and study, and you start to see things. You formulate ideas, philosophies, right? Postulations. Only by much searching and mining are gold and diamonds and obtained, and diamonds obtained. A man can find every truth connected with his being if he will dig deep into the mind of soul, and that he is the maker of his character, the molder of his life, the builder of his destiny, and he may unerringly prove if he will watch, control, and alter his thoughts, tracing their effects upon himself, upon others, and upon his life and circumstances, linking cause and effect by patient practice and investigation, utilizing his every experience, even to the most trivial everyday occurrence, as a means of obtaining that knowledge of himself, which is understanding, wisdom, power, right? Which is understanding, wisdom, power. And this direction, as in no other, is the law absolute, that he that seeketh findeth, and to him that knocketh it shall come, it shall be opened. For only by patience, practice, and ceaseless importunity can a human enter the door of the temple of the knowledge, right? There are like 3 or 4 religious references right in that last statement there. Again, don't be thrown off by that. So that's good for now. Next time we'll get into the effect of thought on circumstance. And then some of these are very, very brief, like the effect of thought on health and body. We'll be probably combining those two. And there's another brief one, so there's not a lot here. So anyways, that's good for now. And you can get this online, just like the Law of Success in 16 lessons. A little longer. This is 20 pages. That is 100, or the one I pulled up is about 1,000, about 1,147 pages or something. So anyways, that's a good start. You've got the exposure. Next time we'll get into a little bit more, and we'll go from there. Have a good one.